Hold on. It started.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, as soon as Mike gets back, we'll call this meeting to order at 1:31 p.m.
Rudy Castellano. I did not receive an email nor a call from him. Mike Sweeney,
Here.
Mike Cousins,
Here.
Maria Gilveri,
Here.
Mike Martinez,
Here.
Travis Hurd.
Here.
There is a quorum.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move so that we approve the agenda as outlined.
I'll second the motion.
We got a motion by Mike Sweeney and a second by Mike Martinez. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
On the minutes, I did find an error, and that was on the last page where it says next regular meeting date. I had put January 10th, 2022, but I did correct that.
You want to send us into 23? Okay,
Everybody gets 1 month to acclimate.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting with the correction from Shani?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion from Mike Martinez, a second from Mike Sweeney. All in favor? Opposed? Any public input today?
Not have
No public input.
I can say, actually, one of the things I want to state on public input is the council had made the decision, I believe, to go back, or the clerk, the city made the decision to go back to, at city council meetings, in person, public comments. The public came back and asked for reconsideration on that, because there's still people who are not comfortable coming out in public. They like the ability to email in their comments. So I think it would be prudent if we follow whatever the council does. So if council's gonna look at it again, if they decide to open it back up for email, I think we will follow that as the committee. Right now, you have to be in person. If that changes, if the council changes for the council meetings, we'll change for the meetings.
Thank you, Mario.
Unless anybody has any thoughts on that different than.
Okay, let's move to business items. Recommendation for approval to purchase an automated side loader for the solid waste division.
So the solid waste division usually purchases 1 or 2 packer trucks every year. Up until this last year, up until 2022, packer trucks were 250,000. With COVID and the increase, packer trucks are almost $500,000. We were contacted, either we were contacted or Lucas may have made contact to MCT and found there was a packer truck on the lot. So we go back a second, $500,000 plus a year to 2 years before you get the piece of equipment. So we were contacted that there was a packer truck on the lot, and there were, I guess somebody maybe rejected it or changed their mind. And so they made it available to the city. Because it's available right now, we still need to continue replacing our packer trucks. But we decided to take this opportunity to go ahead and request to purchase it. We do have the funding in our budget. It will be $443,019.56. So it is $200,000 higher than any previous packer trucks, but those trucks are needed, very, very much needed. They do drive 5 days a week, 52 weeks of the year. So it is an opportunity we didn't want to turn down, and then we do have funding for it.
Guaranteed better wage.
Yeah, if we tried to buy one other than this one, it would be 2 years and it could be 600,000.
Can you put in a request for a order for one for the next
I'll
one?
be talking to Lucas. We try and order 2 every year, and usually it's a year before we get them. And then we have to have the funds available at the time we place the order, not at the time, in addition to obviously when it arrives, but we have to have the funds available when we order it.
Question on that.
Yes, sir.
Do we get tied into the price, what it was in 2023?
Not always.
That's what I'm asking.
Correct. Not always. In this case, it's on the lot. It's that price. We're gonna get it.
Okay.
In the past, when we've ordered something and it's been a year, we've actually been able to hold the price. But there's a lot of things that are changing now.
Right.
Come on,
The question then is why
work, I was in a meeting.
2 years ahead of time and have to have the money on hand?
At noon.
When they're date tied, isn't there a way to contract them that they need to apply? If you don't have the money when you order it,
So I'll
then
tell you,
they,
this,
is there a way that you might talk to the attorney to see if there's a way that it's
So
something can be
we had
done
this
about that?
situation with a tractor that we ordered. The price was quoted when we ordered it. It took a year to deliver. When it was delivered, the company that sold it to the company that manufactured it and sold it to the distributor, who then sold it to us, they raised their price on the distributor. So if the distributor sold it to us at the price they originally quoted us, they would have had to eat the additional cost. So what we did have them do was provide proof that the price was raised on you so that we would pay the additional cost. Unfortunately, it's a reality of the time right now. In many of our projects get quoted, they get a price. The prices are good for 24 to 48 hours in some cases, and in good extremes, 10 days. Anything longer than that, and so many of our contracts that we have, it's built in where if there is an escalation in the price, we will pay. We don't want the contractors and vendors to end up eating those costs if it's not on them.
This is business.
Some things the price will hold because as soon as we order it, they start producing it. Other
I
things,
don't know if I'm talking apples and oranges, but the way we tie into our gas costs, what I think you're tied for a year,
right?
and it's like set in stone. Well,
Shawnee, I think we can hear you. Are you trying to say something?
I was talking to Val, sorry, excuse me.
Okay.
yeah, I don't know if there's a way, but I don't know. Somebody
So
might want to look into that. If
Yeah.
there is a way.
what we're allowed to do is we're allowed to get out of contract. If for some reason they come back and say we can't hold to that price, we can, and
Oh, really?
which would have happened with the tractor. We could have just rejected the tractor and then they would have kept it. But we needed the tractor more than.
But we need the equipment so
Correct.
bad that we're like between the rock and the hard place all the time.
We are, and it's happening with a lot of projects. Even some of the funding agencies are scaling in contingencies because the time frame to commit to the vendor. We have a couple projects that we're going out to bid on. We know that it's going to be a year before the materials can get here, so we can only imagine what's going to happen in prices in a year. So it's unfortunately we're all kind of. If something takes a year to get or 2 years to get, prices change. But we do our due diligence to make sure that they're not just raising prices on us, that it was raised on them and they're just passing through the cost. Or in this case, when we worked out with that vendor, we adjusted some of the items we ordered so that it stayed within the price of the purchase order. And then we would go back and get the attachments at a different date.
I have a question. I can see this applying to vehicles and equipment and stuff. What about materials?
Same thing.
It's the same as
We've got materials that gas ordered some stuff a year and a half ago, and it's supposed to come in this week. It's a year to a year and a half for some things.
and the cost 200 grand 2 years ago is now double 400 grand or whatever. And
You still need it.
still things have really changed at one time. Pre-pandemic, well, of course, this was 20 years ago that we were able to tie in materials at that price, and 2 years later, they delivered at that price. But
Up until
it's
COVID,
not
it was that way. COVID, the supply chain, the
changed
yeah,
everything.
changed everything. Yes. Costs started changing. It was impacting everybody, and businesses are not going to go out of business just to keep commitment on contracts. Yeah, exactly. So that's why we were requesting to purchase this side loader. And 1-year warranties, by the way. But it's 1 year on the body and 1 year on the engine.
It's hard to be in a predicament like that, but nothing you do about it.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion that the recommendation for approval to purchase an automatic side loader for the solid waste department, solid waste division, be approved.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mike Sweeney, a second by Mike Martinez, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, we have a recommendation for approval of addendum number 1 to contract 383522 with Stantec Consulting Services Incorporated for utility, street, and drainage improvements on Hot Spring Boulevard.
So Stantec has a 4-year contract with us for the work on Hot Springs, water and sewer. It is the end of the first year, so the project is still happening, so we need to continue the addendum and continue the work that is being accomplished in Hot Springs.
Is that Stantec here in Thomas?
Stantec is from, it's actually a nationwide company. Their offices for this case, in this case, are out of Tucumcari.
We're out of where, Maria? What did you say?
Tucumcari?
Thank you. I should know that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And can Stantec raise their prices on us?
Yes, annually, engineers can request, they'll submit their, as long as they get it in before we do the addendum, they can submit for their price adjustment. And we have done a few price adjustments in the last few years. The costs are going up across the board for labor, for overhead.
What's the usual run? Is it January through, or is it?
It's whenever we sign the contract. Most of our contracts, we try and do July, August timeframe. June, July, August. Some of them are a little earlier, a little later, depending on when we needed it. So we were going to use a CES contract, I believe, for the Hot Springs work, but because it was funded by the state, we had to do a bid and a specific contract for that.
I need a motion to approve or recommend.
I'll make motion to approve the addendum number 1, contract 3835-22, Stantec.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mike Martinez, a second by Mike Sweeney, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, discussion items, monthly report.
So currently, actually, bear with me, we'll get a report I'm working on.
This is quiz meeting monthly.
Mr. Hearn, did you see your post there? Not to tell me. So the safety, so what's the problems? Burglary proof covers. Water streets, those on the windows. Yeah. On the side, on the other side. And the screen was moved. And down. You don't have to do this, I don't know. There was a lot of things that I had to talk about, not in my own house.
So, distribution, there were a couple of water leaks, I believe, you were working on recently. What was happening last month?
The last month we had, see, we got that total of 4 water leaks. We had one on New Mexico and Rio Riva during that cold snap that we had. So we got that one taken care of. We had one on 4th Street, that was just a service. And we updated it also, renewed the whole service. Got rid of all the lead stuff that was in that service. What were the other 2?
Not the unknown.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, we just started there.
First one. I forgot what the other one was. I think it was on East Block, like they were really good, is that? Well, bunch, wait, we had one there, all that multiple, but same, and
Both sides of Grand.
then on First Street also. Their service lines, old lines, deteriorated.
And the cold temperatures.
Yes, that's good.
So we're also working on an annual report. I believe the mayor, I think it's next Thursday. I'll double check. I'll get back to you, confirm the exact date for the state of the city address, but there'll be a state of the city address next week. And so we're currently working on an annual report. So in addition to what's happened in the last month, we'll be talking about what each division has done, how many, in Travis's Cruz case, how many feeding line they've installed, how many services they've replaced, how many of those ones have been certified, what have been certified, and so on. Give the community an update on the progress, and what happens in this department over the last year. In the last month, in addition to what distribution has been working on, water treatment has made several repairs at the water treatment facility, including completion of the filter bed upgrade January 18th at 5:30. They completed the filter bed 4 rehabilitation yesterday, all day, actually until 1:30 this morning. They were replacing actuators, modulators, which required complete draining of the water treatment facility, all the filter beds, very well, everything. They were able to get the system back online and operational at 1:30 a.m. this morning. So they had a very long day yesterday. So there's a few items at that plant that you can't repair while everything's filled with water and shut everything for almost. Wastewater, they've had some challenges after we had a power outage on December 5th, I believe it was. We had several pumps and motors fail, surge, just damaged those pumps, and we had it was a rolling issue. Because one submitted had issues, other parts of the facility had issues. So they're currently trying to keep everything together right now while we're waiting for pumps to come in and a lot of components to come up. They've ordered hoses and pumps and some other stuff. So,
I think you have a backup system.
in this case, everything is gravity fed, and once the power stopped and the generators didn't kick on, everything filled up and started to overflow. It did not overflow to the river, but we did have an overflow at the facility. Environment department was notified and informed of what was happening. That's one of the reasons why we really need those brand new generators. The older generators just they didn't kick on when they were supposed to. And then probably need to look at some storage equipment to help check them. So that's wastewater, solid waste. One of the challenges we're dealing with in solid waste right now is one of our drivers reached retirement. And so we were already short-staffed, and now one of our drivers is retired. So now we have one driver for residential, one for commercial, and one for hauling. And there's too much work for just those 3 guys to do. So we're trying to work on some solutions. We've had those numerous packer positions posted. And we still would like people to consider applying. We'll absolutely work with folks on, if the folks have the right skills, we have the right position for that. So we would ask everybody to bear with us on solid waste. It will affect routes. It will affect trash pickup. being limited like we are, we don't have any redundancy at all. Customer service, this is more of an annual, update. The federal government provided money for what was called the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. It was provided to each one of the states to deal with the results of COVID and utility bills, lack of income and still having utility bills. So the city customer service staff received 85 applications and submitted 85 applications for residents to help with funding. 41 of those applications has been approved. So the request was for $99,000 and the city received $41,000 in support for customers who needed help with their bills. Gas division, actually gas and water both completed a traffic control and flagging class. So we have about 20 employees that are certified for the NMDOT required traffic control and flagging. That's a requirement to be able to perform any work on the DOT roadway, correct? Project management is working on several projects. We're still working on about $4 million in projects with our SCADA, our trackbacks and pumps. And then the hot springs project. I do want to update everybody on the hot springs project. So the sewer portion is almost done. I believe there's about 40 feet left and one manhole. So that should be done within the next couple of weeks. Again, it's pretty deep, which is why 40 feet isn't a lot, but the excavation getting down, 13 to 15 feet, that's still time. And we do need to be safe and we'll do it. So the sewer portion should be done soon. The water equipment materials should all be coming in soon. I believe the PRV is the last thing they're waiting for. And I think they're hoping it comes in this week. And that's where they'll start. The PRV is off of Hot Springs near Taos Street. Between Taos and Senator.
It's on Water Street.
More, okay. So they're gonna start at that PRV, replace the PRV, and then the water line all the way up to Mills and under Mills. We're still coordinating with DOT on the final that.
There'll be a time on.
Be a board.
And I do believe they're all arrived.
Okay. I think that was the last component they were actually working for. So they'll start on the water project. It is in the area that's already blocked off, so it's not gonna change anything. They'll be able to start working in that area and they'll shift on the sewer side once the sewer's done. But the water team, it's totally different group. They'll start on the water line. The sewer line installation at Independence and South Pacific. Before the holidays, they reached the intersection, but we didn't want to close off that intersection during the holidays, so we put the project on hold. They're starting up this week. That intersection will be closed, and there will be a detour set up at River Road. I believe it's Tecolote and it's those two roads. So there will be routes around that intersection. Approximately 1 month to install the manholes and sewer. And again, it's depth along with concrete. And rock. Let me see. We are at about 93%, I believe, full on all of our storage. So Story is full. Bradner is at about 80% or 87%, and Peterson's about 80%.
Storage.
Storage.
On that story of dam there in the north end, if you're headed north, you get probably about 3/4 of the way across the
DOT is aware of it.
My wife is scared of this one.
Yes. DOT's aware of it. I haven't heard back. Usually they have, and what we have is, on our dams, are survey points. So they can go out and survey and see if anything is shifting. We've had a couple engineers take a look at it on our behalf, just to give us some idea on what might be happening. I think that maybe there was some water that got underneath the roadway and an expansion contraction. And caused some leaking.
The dam,
DOT is aware of it.
well, the dam's low now, but when the river fills the rims, I mean, it's just a little more pressure.
And then annually, the state engineer's office also requires an inspection of that dam, so Story does.
There's nothing to worry about.
I would say not, I'm comfortable driving across it, as long as somebody is looking into it and making a plan to repair it, and we'll DOT as well. The main projects, so during the, in the omnibus package that the federal government passed included a specific, acknowledgement of $140 million for water treatment facilities impacted by the Hermit's Peak Canyon fire. That dollar amount correlates with our request for 2 sediment removal systems, the advanced treatment of wastewater, and a new water treatment. So we will be working, it'll be disseminated through FEMA. We'll be working with FEMA to get those projects moving. And the funds aren't yet available. So I am also trying alternate methods of getting some funding so that the first entity, they can make funds available for us from the PDRs.
We need to transfer that money back. Right?
That's one of the questions I'm gonna ask FEMA, clarification from FEMA is if we spend money out of city budget, can we reimburse ourselves if we get some funding somewhere else? If it's no cost funding, that doesn't matter. If it is, a 90-10, maybe we can just get the match from it. But we will be, it's something that we have on our list to ask FEMA.
If we times it times 2 and it goes up that much.
Yeah. That is in the Hermit's Peak Act and in the discussions with FEMA related to the now 3.9 million, 3.85 billion, sorry, 3.85 billion. That was asked and it was acknowledged that there may be changes in cost due to increases in medical costs. And so that even if it costs X amount to do something in 2023, by the time a resident or the city can hire somebody in 2024, 2025, the cost may increase and they will consider that. So my understanding is we can go back as long as we can make the case.
How does that apply in reverse?
Well, you're only allowed to.
No, you know what I mean? Your cost 2 years from now is less.
Yeah.
What happens?
You're only
Understand.
you're only allowed to seek reimbursement for what you actually spend. So if we end up spending less because it doesn't cost as much, that's all that we can get from FEMA. And we've worked with FEMA before after the 2013 flooding. It was actual costs.
It's usually not less, but just asking.
Well, it would be either way. It would be great. I don't want to spend any more money than we have to. But anything with FEMA is going to, in this case, would most likely be actual costs.
But yeah, attorneys that work for the city that take care of that. I mean,
So we're working through FEMA directly with us.
you have another advisory board that can that understands the law that
Well,
an attorney.
so that would come out of our budget, the attorney's fees, and so only if we need attorneys, we will look at using attorneys. If we don't need attorneys,
They're pretty difficult about that.
and this FEMA is a little different, and we worked with FEMA before, and they paid actual costs, so we didn't have any issues with them. Yeah, we did about 5 major projects after the 2013 flood, and they covered every cost we get covered. We've actually, and as a matter of fact, all the expenses that the city has incurred for labor or equipment during the fire and the flood has already been submitted for reimbursement. It's going to be approximately $700,000 to $800,000 just for the utilities department.
There's there.
I have to say they've actually been working very well with the city.
Those got a lot of money work.
Any particular projects? So we did get some ARPA funds as well, and we're looking at which projects we want to fund with the ARPA. So there are a couple of projects that we're getting quotes on. There are 2 sewer line projects, one on King Street and one on Perez, which does include the King Street line that's crossing the Arroyo out there that's had some repairs throughout the years. We're also looking at some water projects. 7th Street from Lori Lane to K-Bob's, New Mexico Avenue from Rio to Valencia, and the alley between Douglas and Lincoln from 6 to 10. Based on the cost estimates I have so far, we'll probably be able to do 2 water and 2 sewer, and then we're gonna do some storm drain work. We have some storm drain issues out here on Rosenwald. We have some storm drain issues on King Street. And I think there's a third place we're looking at some storm drain. And those projects are funded under so we have a lot more projects. I just don't know if you want me to go through every single one of them. I'll go through a little bit more, just to give you an update. Parkview is 80% complete. We're currently on hold because the Oaks are on 8-month back order. The roadway, we were looking at paving the roadway once the work was done. There are there's some input from the residents out there, and so I believe the city will have those discussions and provide direction on what kind of roadway will be out on Parkview. Baca is about 80% complete. They still have the alleys and the services to tie in. Hannah Park is at 99%. There's actually been some integrated control protocol we've been requiring. We have one guy that does the work, so it's really hard to get Preston out here. So that project is at 99%. Hopefully we'll get Preston
That's
out.
the effluent.
That is for the effluent, yes. 8th Street water line extension, the plans are at 60%. And we're reviewing them and get them back to the engineer. Engineer's actually on hold right now because we need their in-between contracts. So in between addendums, and so we're working on whether we're gonna do another addendum or another contract. I already talked about independent sewer lines. So those, I think, are the ones that are mostly going to impact customers. Anything else?
Yeah, I had a question myself.
Yes, sir.
I had asked for a listing of the drought stages and regulations and stuff.
Okay. Johnny, can you print the drought contingency plan? And and we'll provide a copy to everybody when we need her.
And the regular stages,
There's 4 in the ordinance, and then everything else is in the drought contingency plan.
thank you.
I apologize for that.
I emailed them from the last meeting.
I didn't know whether you had or not. I guess I didn't catch it. That's why I thought we were gonna get something on
We can give you a paper copy.
Oh yeah, we can. I'll print them right now.
No big rush.
I'll make sure to thank the person that cleaned the sidewalks at the church. I don't know if it was the city or who did it.
Somebody with volleyball braces.
I know that the parks guys have been trying to do as much as they can to pressure washing and obviously it's been a little challenging with the temperatures once they got down to pretty cold temperatures, which is actually something I think I would like to address with everybody. It was very unusual when we were down to the 0 degrees for over 24 hours, I believe. Our camel froze the day before, and that was maybe in the teens. And so the equipment froze, which we didn't want to use it while it was freezing because then that's a $600,000 piece of equipment we don't need to damage. And then it became dangerous for staff members. So we did, on that day, I did direct staff when it was 0 degrees that I wasn't going to have them out in wet, cold environment because it was dangerous. As long as there was no danger to the public. And so we did have a water leak and a sewer backup issue happening at the time that we needed to wait until the temperature went up so that we didn't damage the equipment or injure any employees. We do have a challenge in the wintertime with grease. So when grease freezes, it really starts to cause problems. And so I believe it was the day after that we had those 0-degree temperatures that the wastewater staff responded to probably 5 backups, all with grease. And so I'm going to continue to try and get that information out to the public. No grease down the drains, no rags down the drains, and they're still flushing rags and putting grease down the drains. But that can result in a backup for you or your neighbors. If it's unsafe for my staff to work on it, we will wait until it's safe for them to work on.
There's no choice in that. Safety first.
That was pretty cold temperatures, and I believe we did have some issues in some residences with frozen pipes. I do recall somebody contacting us because it was 2 days later. We still couldn't figure out why they didn't have any water. And it was just, it took that long for their pipes to thaw.
Okay, any announcements or anything?
The mayor's state of the city on the 18th at 5:30. Let everybody know about that. I also like to let everybody know that the skating rink is open, so I'd like to see the three of you out ice skating.
It's not really nice.
The skating rink is open. I believe it's their Thursdays, Fridays, and
I might
Saturdays.
go take some pictures.
I believe it's now in a permanent location over there
Key Sport.
next to Keys Park. So even if you don't skate, come take a look at it. It's a pretty nice setup.
I like asking about that. It's a good one.
My phone in the speaker space, he doesn't go for hockey, so sorry.
All I do is fancy stuff.
Fancy stuff.
So that's what I have for now. Lucas Solid Waste is working on the annual calendar for cleanups. So we'll get that to you as soon as we solidify it. And that will include the once a month cleanups, as well as amnesty days, 4 works and 4 weeks, all the KB and Keep America Beautiful events. First day.
Okay. Any member comments? Okay. No, I get to. Okay, if everybody's good with this, let's move to adjourn the meeting at 2:08.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.